I was certain, not hopeful, not confident, certain. There wasn't a single reason to doubt what I was looking at. No pulse, no breathing, no response. The monitor had already said everything it needed to say. Charging to 360. Clear! Thump. Nothing. Again. Charging to 360. Clear. Thump. Still nothing. The room slowly surrendered to a silence that every person in medicine learns to recognize. Not the silence of peace, the silence of acceptance. I looked around. No one spoke. No one needed to. Every face in that room was asking the same question. Is there anything left to do? The answer was no. So I looked at the clock, took one last breath, and said 3 words that can never be taken back. Time of death. I had spoken those words before, dozens of times, maybe hundreds, but I never imagined that 3 minutes later, they would come back to haunt me. I wish I could tell you that I was the only one who got it wrong. I wasn't. Every person in that room agreed with me. The nurse, the paramedic, the respiratory therapist, the resident standing beside me. Every pair of eyes had seen the same thing, a heart. That had stopped. There was no argument, no hesitation, no uncertainty. If you had walked into that room, before I spoke those 3 words, you would have said them too. That's what still keeps me awake. Because a few minutes later, and someone called my name, not loudly, just enough to make me turn around. Doctor. I remember thinking I'd forgotten something, a form, a signature, another routine task. Instead, I saw every member of my team staring at the same place, the bed. No one moved, no one spoke, because if what we were looking at was real, then everything we had believed just moments earlier was impossible. And impossibilities don't happen in hospitals, at least. They're not supposed to. For a few seconds, no one said a word, not because they didn't know what to do, because none of them trusted what they were seeing. The room had changed. Just moments earlier, it had been a place where life had ended. Now, it felt like every law of medicine had quietly stepped aside. One nurse slowly walked toward the bed. No panic, no rush, almost as if she was afraid that moving too quickly would make whatever she was seeing disappear. She leaned closer, closer than anyone should have to. Then, she reached for the woman's wrist. Nothing. She checked again. Silence. Then, without taking her eyes off the patient, she whispered just 2 words. Check again. Nobody questioned her. Another monitor was connected. The leads were replaced. The blood pressure cuff tightened around an arm that, according to every medical record in that room, belonged to a dead woman. 5 pairs of eyes watched the screen, waiting, hoping that it was only a faulty machine, because a faulty machine was easier to explain. Then, the monitor answered. Beep. Once. The room froze. Beep. Again. No one spoke, because everyone in that room knew they had just crossed a line they never thought they would have to cross twice. I remember staring at the monitor, hoping it would stop, because if it didn't, then the 3 words I'd spoken just minutes earlier weren't just wrong. They had no right to exist. For the first time in my career, I wasn't trying to save a life. I was trying to understand how one had returned. I stopped trusting my own memory. Maybe I'd missed something. Maybe the monitor had fooled me. Maybe exhaustion had filled in details that were never there. So I did something I'd never done before. I requested every report, every ECG strip, every timestamp, every second of that resuscitation. I wasn't trying to defend myself. I was trying to prove that I had been wrong. It would have been easier, but every document told the same story. No pulse, no rhythm, resuscitation terminated, time of death recorded. There it was, in black ink, my signature. 3 words that should have ended the story. Instead, they became the beginning of it, because the more I searched, the more impossible the answer became. Nothing was missing, nothing was overlooked, nothing explained. Why a heart that had been silent had decided to speak again, and that's when I made the mistake of asking a question I wasn't prepared to hear the answer to. Has this ever happened before? Or happened? The answer came back, faster than I expected. Yes. Not once, not twice, dozens of times, scattered across hospitals, countries, and decades. Different patients, different doctors, the same impossible sentence, declared dead, then alive again. Medicine even had a name for it, Lazarus Syndrome. The first time I read those words, I felt relieved. A name meant an explanation. Or so I thought. I kept reading, paper after paper, expert after expert, and with every page, my relief disappeared. Some blamed trapped air inside the lungs. Others pointed to delayed effects of adrenaline. A few believed the heart simply restarted on its own. Each theory explained a handful of cases. None explained them all. That was the part no headline ever tells you. We know it happens. We just don't know exactly why. And somehow, I found that even more frightening, because medicine is built on certainty, on answers, on knowing. But hidden inside medical journals was a question that nobody had been able to answer for decades. I still work in emergency medicine. I still stand beside hospital beds, listening for heartbeats. And sometimes, I still have to say those 3 words, time of death. But I don't walk away as quickly anymore. I wait, not because I expect miracles, because I've learned that certainty can be dangerous. That day didn't make me believe in the supernatural. It made me respect something far more unsettling, the limits of what we know. Medicine has given this phenomenon a name. It still hasn't given us every answer, and every now and then, when the room falls silent and I look at the clock, I hear my own voice from years ago. Time of death. Then a question quietly follows, one that never existed before that day. What if I'm early?